Welcome back to the game room. Today I am counting down my top 10 games of all time. But will they stay my top 10 games after I finish the Great Backlog Challenge? For those of you new here to the game room, my collection spans over 2,000 games across 18 systems. But I'm not chasing full sets. I curate my collection very carefully. About 14 years ago, I made a list of top 100 games I wanted to play across every system. That list grew over time thanks to recommendations from friends, and of course every time Metal Jesus dropped a new Hidden Gem video. Now after 14 years of collecting, the list of games I'm hunting is under 100 total. But along the way, I realized something. There are more games in my collection that I haven't played than ones that I have. And that is what led to the Great Backlog Challenge. My mission to finally play through my collection and see if I've been sitting on some new all-time favorites. So today I'm locking in my top 10 games of all time. That way, once I finish my Great Backlog Challenge, I can do a one for one and see if my top 10 still holds strong. There is one rule to this list, and that is that no franchise can hold more than one position on the top 10. So, I can't have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the list. Only one Zelda, only one Mario, only one God of War, and so on and so forth. And that should help things feel a little bit more interesting. Without further ado, let's get to it. Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite JRPGs ever.
There were fewer fiends in my time. Oh, really?
I remember playing this game when I first got it and being in awe at the graphics. I mean, it was just such a pretty game. It was the first JRPG that I ever really got into and like fully committed to. I 100% completed the game with all the special weapons. I remember dodging 100 lightning bolts for Lulu's special weapon and everything. It was so painful, but so worth doing just because of how much I enjoyed this game. I mean, one of the biggest critiques I hear about it is the leveling up system, the sphere grid, and honestly, I loved that system. I thought it was so unique. I had such a good time going in there and moving stuff around. The fighting mechanics were super fun. All of the visuals were very unique and had great feedback to the fight. It felt good whenever you landed a hit. Even the small things like the blitzball tournaments and chocobo races were fun, you know? It was just all around a good time. One of my favorite aspects of it by far is summoning these monsters, right? So as you progress, you get more summons that you can call upon, and just this epic moment whenever the cutscene happens with this giant beast coming in and just wiping the floor of your enemies was just awesome. Speaking of the enemies just had so much to them. Like Seymour, I wanted to punch Seymour in the face. It was awesome the way they developed that character. And then Sin, this just mysterious thing, you know, it was... I truly enjoyed this game, and there's not many games that I've enjoyed as much as I enjoyed Final Fantasy X. Unfortunately, I haven't played a whole lot of Final Fantasies outside of 10. It was the first Final Fantasy I picked up, and then I picked up Final Fantasy 2 as soon as it released after I played this, and I hated it. It was nothing like 10. So, unfortunately, after that, they kind of lost me again. But I still remember this game very fondly. And it's mainly due to the storyline and the character development. Prince of Persia and the Sands of Time. This one was in my top 5 for the longest. I mean, I don't know, something about time travel and, you know, this type of ancient, almost, you know, Persian, Egyptian, that era just really calls to me. I mean, I love this game. This game was great. The storyline was great. Kind of reminded me of Aladdin. I mean, you can't tell me that the vizier doesn't look like Jafar. He even has like a little snake serpent thing. And the dagger is kind of like the lamp in a way. But all in all, really enjoyed this game. The graphics were good for the time-ish. You know, they weren't the best, but the parkour movement and puzzle solving were awesome in this game. It always felt so realistic, the way you ran on walls and swung around on posts. I remember some buddies of mine used to try and run on the walls all the time after this game came out. It was a huge thing. Mainly because this game made it feel real and easily done. The use of time travel was really cool. I love to be, you know, to be able to like go back in time and kind of redo something was really fun. And then, yeah, the whole storyline. Warrior Within is a really close second for this one. And like I said, I'm not putting more than one of a series on the list. So it's a really close second. It almost beat this one out. The only one that this one has over the other is that it was the first one to do it. And I can definitely see where Ubisoft took this and developed Assassin's Creed after. Because like the fighting combat and some of this, I mean, a lot of it feels like what the first Assassin's Creed was. And I just wish they would have kept going with the Prince of Persia series as well. But the later Prince of Persia games, while okay, they never quite hit the same as this one has for me. So maybe one day we'll get a Prince of Persia that feels like the old stuff. Coming in at number 8 is Super Mario World. This game is the first game I ever owned that I got with my first system for Christmas, my Super Nintendo that I still have, and the first game that I ever beat. This game is a masterclass in level design. I mean, nowadays you have a whole lot of tutorials, right? At almost every game you pop in, there's gonna be tutorials. This game had no tutorials. You jump in, and the levels that you start on were built to teach you how to play the game. It was perfect. Anytime there's a new mechanic, you use it right after you discover it. It's always so well thought out, and that's one of the things I really love about Mario. And the way that the levels are built, it's always built out to challenge you while at the same time teach you how to play. I still to this day remember the castles and going against the dungeon bosses. And I mean, I remember one of the hardest things for me, and I don't know why at that point in time, was Kamek. Kamek was hell for me. I could hardly ever get past it. And yeah, for some reason, that one just always stayed in my mind. Star Road was awesome. The idea of like, hey, you know, some of these levels have multiple ways to complete them. You know, I can grab a key over here that takes me over here to the ghost house that if I complete it takes me to a tunnel, but it could also take me to the Star Road. level, and I can go and play through the Star Road levels in order to unlock different paths to get to Bowser's Castle, and kind of shortcutting all the rest of the stuff. I know when I first played this game, I never completed the Forest of Illusion. That forest just was horrible. The Chocolate Mountains, I think they call it. I never played them. I always went to the Star Road and then jumped on into Bowser's Castle. There's a good half of this game that I never played until maybe about 10 years ago. When I was growing up, I would always use Star Road to get past it. And that's what's fun about this game. There's always stuff that I find new and exciting to play with Super Mario. And now, with kids of my own, I'm able to show them where Mario got its roots from with the NES and Super Nintendo, and where my love for gaming came from.
Ready? Go!
Kingdom Hearts. This is the only other JRPG that is on this list. And I will say it is hands down my favorite. When I first got into this game, I thought it had some cool premise, you know. It was you'd be able to travel and be in the world of Disney.
Rather a stubborn old goat, wouldn't you say?
Who are you?
Oh, hey, hold on there, Fuzzboy. Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right?
Visit some of my favorite worlds like Hercules and Aladdin and things like that. And it didn't disappoint. A lot of the areas were done really nicely. The visuals were great. The storyline was awesome. The music was phenomenal. The combat was fun. Donald and Goofy were useless. And Mickey doesn't show up until the very end.
Now, Sora, let's close this door for good.
I didn't really think at the time that I would really get into this game. I heard great things, so I jumped in. And yeah, it made the Disney characters cool again for a high school me. All of the kind of subtle nods to the Final Fantasy games were really cool, and I understood that they were nods, although I hadn't played any other Final Fantasy except for 10. But the style was 100% there. I could see Final Fantasy all over this game. When it comes down to the bosses and just the normal enemies, some of the levels were a little bit tedious. I remember the Alice in Wonderland level being the one I just got stuck on the most. That music for that level now, I swear I hear it in my nightmares. But overall, this game is awesome. So this is the only Kingdom Hearts that I ever completed. I played 2, but didn't get very far. And I didn't play any of the other ones. 2 confused me because of the Roxas storyline. Was like, what is going on? I always hope to get back into it and play some of those side stories, because to me a storyline is key, and when you start fragmenting off and doing some random stuff with a completely different character but yet claim it's going to be the same story, it just throws me. So I will give this another shot, and I have no doubt that I'm going to enjoy the entire series as a whole. I don't know which one will be my favorite come the end of it, but I do know right now this one is my favorite and makes the top 10 list. Pokemon Yellow was life for me for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I had my yellow Game Boy and this game with me 24/7. Whether I was at the comic book shop, trading cards, and trying to trade Pokemon from the game with other people and doing all that, or in the car with my purple snake light attached to the thing. Like, I went through so many batteries. This game was with me 24/7. It brings back so many memories. I caught all the Pokemon on this game that it was possible to catch. I did everything I could possibly do on this game. This game is my favorite Pokemon game of all time. I've played a good number of the other games, and I have enjoyed a good number of the other games, but none of them ever came close to this one. I've never felt the same way about one. I almost put Pokemon Go Pikachu on here instead of the original Yellow, because I did really enjoy that. It brought me back, and I loved the visuals. I loved the way the Pokemon were shown in the tall grass, and everything about that game was really good. The only thing is that the nostalgia factor that this one has to me didn't beat it out, and I don't know if Pokemon will ever be able to do enough to beat that nostalgia factor that this game has for me. So this may be the Pokemon that is always on my list. We'll see. I tried to plug it in a while back and found out that my battery had died and my save file is gone. Alright, I know everybody's waiting for the top 5, right? But before we get there, let's kind of go through a little bit of my mindset when making this top 10. So I already gave you the rule that I made of not having the same franchise in twice, because honestly, Zelda would have been half the list without a doubt. What I did was I actually went and I made a list of every system that I have, which is about 13 systems. I have every PlayStation, every Nintendo, handhelds, and the Atari 2600. From that, I made a top 5 for each system, and making sure to follow my rule of only one game per franchise. This meant that some nostalgia factors could get beaten out just if a better game came into play. Like Legend of Zelda's Link Awakening on Game Boy Color. That for me has so much nostalgia. I was playing that like crazy in the car rides. But it didn't quite make that list because, well, there's bigger and better Zeldas out there. But I'll go ahead and drop the top 5 list that I made for each system in the description of the video so you guys can check it out. Let's get back to it. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. For me, Assassin's Creed was like an entire era of my life. There was this point where I remember getting Assassin's Creed for Christmas. Had no clue what it was. My dad said that some guy at GameStop said it was gonna be game of the year and suggested it to him. I put that thing in and it was hands down the only thing I played for months. Like I 100% completed that game multiple times. It was awesome. And then Assassin's Creed 2 came out and it was everything Assassin's Creed 1 was times 2. We started messing with, you know, Rome, Italy, and all that, and I was like, the history aspects of this stuff and the whole tie-in to, you know, the apocalyptic events that were gonna happen, you know, from the Mayans and all that stuff was awesome, right? The idea of the Templars and Abstergo, you know, and and playing with history, you know, going back and saying, hey, let's tweak history a bit and show that there was a different tale being told with all of this that we know about. You know, artifacts that we know existed that actually had hidden powers that only certain people knew about, and things like that are just, oh man, they're like candy for me. I love it. So Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I feel, is like the pinnacle of Assassin's Creed. I am back and forth with whether I should have posted this one or Black Flag. Black Flag is obviously an awesome game, and I loved that one. That's probably the last Assassin's Creed that I played and really enjoyed. So, and they're really tied here. The only reason Brotherhood got a 1-up is because, I mean, it's Rome. You know, I love the storyline behind it. Black Flag's just dropped the whole backstory with Desmond, so that I didn't really like where they went with that backstory. So that's mainly why Brotherhood won out for me, because it turned into just, hey, here's a historical fiction, you know, game. And I liked that side quest that happened with Desmond and all the, like, hey, here's what's going on now type moments. We lost that. We haven't had that for a while, at least not that I know of. The last Assassin's Creed game that I played was, man, I'm having a hard time remembering exactly which one it was. Assassin's Creed Origins. That's the one with Egypt, right? So I played that one a bit, very little. I liked what it had to offer to start, but I had worn myself out previously because I didn't play Unity and I didn't play Syndicate before Assassin's Creed Origins came out. So I went back and I played those too. They weren't bad. They were more of the same. I didn't really get behind the storyline all that much. It didn't draw me in. But when I started Origins, I was so worn out on Assassin's Creed, because, I mean, the mechanics remain the same. They twist them a little bit, but it's a game that you can easily get worn out on. And I don't know. I just played it for 30 minutes and then never picked it back up. And I haven't picked up an Assassin's Creed game since. So, Brotherhood has to be my favorite Assassin's Creed game, followed very closely by Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 3 with the American Revolution. That was great. I would have done things very differently there. Actually, before that came out, I was writing up a script as an Assassin's Creed type game based in the American Revolutionary times. So I was doing some research and I found some different things, and I had this whole script planned out and was really getting the details nailed in. And when they announced Assassin's Creed 3, I was like, God darn, man, of course they would do it. So obviously I had my own expectations and my version would have been better. Just saying. Anyway, but yeah, Assassin's Creed definitely holds a special place for me, and it's nicely at number 5. I look forward to playing the rest of them during the Backlog Challenge, and who knows, maybe I'll play one that's better than this one, or maybe I'll play other games that outrank Assassin's Creed altogether.
I don't know, man. I can't talk about me without talking about Spider-Man.
Sure you can. You just have to... Yeah, why don't you just start another draft?
Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5. First of all, Insomniac completely captured everything that was great about the Spider-Man games in the past. In their first Spider-Man game, right, on PS4. So I had no doubt that this was going to be a fun Spider-Man game, and it was going to be worth playing. But when they announced Venom as the villain, and the special edition came with that Venom sculpture with Spider-Man and Miles Morales, man, that was the first special edition game that I picked up in a long time, since Assassin's Creed 3, actually. The only thing I would have to say that I was disappointed about this game is that the special edition didn't come with a physical copy of the game. It came with a steelbook for the physical copy, but didn't come with a physical disc for the game. It was a download code. That made no sense to me.
MJ,
But
get him out of here.
hey, here I am. The statue was worth it in itself. I love that statue. But collector edition, special edition issues aside, this game was fantastic. The storyline, the way they incorporated Venom, even getting a chance to play as Venom for a little minute there, the way they incorporated Mr. Negative and Anti-Venom, they really made this story their own. And they incorporated all the elements of the comics in a very nice way, to bring them together quick and fast, without all this backstory of years and years of comics give you, right?
Miles, where did this come from?
Leonide went in your head to clear out the symbiote that's inside. He had to drain his power into it to save you. It looks like
Overall, the gameplay was great.
You work together?
Brings me back to when I first played Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2, the Tobey Maguire movie-based Spider-Man games. To this day, those are the best movie-based video games that have ever existed. Though the swinging mechanics and the open-world environments that were involved with that, and the quest system and those games were so ahead of their time. They were really, really good for what they were, being a movie tie-in game, right? But that really elevated my love for Spider-Man, even being a 90s Spider-Man cartoon fan, which made me really a Venom fan because I was drawn to the Venom comics when I saw him on the shelf playing Pokemon at the local comic book shop. I really wasn't into comics before then, and 90s cartoons led me to the Venom comic, which led me to the Spider-Man movie and Spider-Man games, and now I'm here and anticipating what Insomniac is going to do next with Marvel and Spider-Man games, and the Wolverine game coming up next can't wait. Breath of the Wild. Now, this is where we start getting into some tricky situations, and this is the reason why I went with one game per series. Because Zelda could have easily taken at least 5 or 6 of the slots on a top 10 list for me. It's one of my favorite series of all time, right? It's my favorite IP. And Breath of the Wild is really the top tier Zelda game. It's the original Zelda on NES brought to full vision, right? And it's just, there's not much to say about this game that hasn't already been said. It is one of the greatest games of all time. The only reason it's where it's at is because of the nostalgia factor that the next two have for me. That Zelda games, yes, they're nostalgic for me, and yes, I love them, and they'd be in my top. They just, you know, the other two just nudge it just a tad. But the reason why I picked Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, because both are great games, and arguably I've spent more time in Tears of the Kingdom because there's just more to do with the above, the below. I mean, that game design was brilliant, and the way that they could pull that off on the Switch, I still, man, it's really a marvel that they got those load times on a Switch for a game that massive. But it does very much feel like a DLC to Breath of the Wild. It's a spiritual successor to it, right? It is the successor to it. It would not be without Breath of the Wild. So I kind of group those up as two. I look at it like a lot of people do, that Tears of the Kingdom is basically DLC to Breath of the Wild. It's a very large DLC, but DLC nonetheless. So whenever I say my number 3 spot is Breath of the Wild, my number 3 spot is Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. It's really both of them combined. I don't think I'll ever go back to play one without playing the other. That being said, I have played both of them 100% at least 2 times. I've played Breath of the Wild 4 times total, 100%, getting even down to all the Korok seeds 3 times out of the 4. And then I've played Tears of the Kingdom twice. First time as a general playthrough, and the second time 100% completing all goals in the game. This game in general, I love the temples in it. I know it didn't have your standard dungeons like, or, you know, most Zelda games have, but the temple puzzles were fun. The dungeons they did have, they had 4 of them. Honestly, I like the temples better than I like their dungeons, because the dungeons just ended up being bigger versions of the temples anyway. In Tears of the Kingdom, you actually get your dungeons and stuff going a little bit more, and I like that about that. Like, it gives you more content in the same world. This world is just so explorable. It has so many little details and so many little hints to the older games and to Zelda lore. It's just, man, it really is one of the best games of all time. Coming in at number 2 is God of War Ragnarok. I've been playing God of War since high school, maybe even middle school. I can't quite remember when that started, but I started playing the original God of War. I love the Greek history behind it. I love the idea of fighting these gods. And it was just an awesome beat 'em up. And then God of War for the PS4 came out and turned it from a beat 'em up with the Greek mythology put in place to a Norse mythology beat 'em up with actual feeling. Like, the storyline just took a leap to the next level whenever God of War for the PS4 came out. Kratos being, like, remarried in a way with a new kid, and that kid being Loki, it just, like, you know, next level. And it's like giving a redemption arc, a true redemption arc to a warrior was just epic. I remember I was so excited when I found out I was having a boy for a second child, because I was like, yes, I'm gonna be able to go around going, boy, and that's all you're gonna hear from now on. His name's gonna be Boy. And it really was a great storyline, along with a beat 'em up adventure style game, right? The exploration was on point compared to the original God of War games. And I didn't know how they would get any better, and then God of War Ragnarok came out. God of War Ragnarok took everything that the God of War on PS4 was and kind of brought it full circle. It was like, you know what? This is Kratos, right? He's going to end up in a position where he's going to have to take out the gods. It's just what happens. It's like that's his destiny. And the path of Loki and the giants, and I really, really enjoyed the way they brought Norse mythology into this. And it's not your typical, Marvel level Norse mythology stuff that almost everybody does when they bring it to screen. This is very true to its roots, and it's really well done. The combat in this game is unbelievable. Love the mechanics, leveling up your axe, and then bringing back the Blades of Chaos, always a treat. Like the axe is kind of clunky feeling to me, and I use it, but I truly do prefer using the Blades of Chaos when I fight with Kratos. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's next for God of War. And that seems to be a theme for a lot of these series. God of War, along with Zelda, if I would open up all of God of War to this top 10 list, it would take up quite a few slots because of how much I played that game when I was younger. Of course, there's certain scenes in the game that helped draw me in when I was that age, but that aside, I still truly enjoyed those games, all except for that one part where you're in Hades and you have to climb up this spine that's rotating. That part of that game was just, it haunts me to this day. But anyway, this is another great game and another great series that I can't wait to see what happens next. If anybody who is watching this has ever seen almost any of my content, they knew what this #1 game was going to be from the very beginning. Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, the very first one. It is my favorite game of all time. The platform mechanics, the puzzles, the storyline, the eco power-ups, the power cells that you had to collect, the orbs you had to collect, the fighting mechanics, everything about this game just drew me in. And I played Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, and then Jak and Daxter 2. I was kind of upset for that one. So this is the reason why this one makes the list, and this is my #1.
Brave adventurer! You two couldn't find your way out of the village without training.
As is with a lot of the games on this list, if I opened it up to have more than one from a series on this list, Most of the other games might not have even made it. Jak 2 for me would have been on this list, no doubt. The problem with Jak 2 that I felt that doesn't make it number 1 is I missed the original mechanics of the eco. Only having Dark Eco and being able to collect it and do this power up at the end, it was great, and I like that mechanic, and I'm glad they added it. But I missed the other eco. I wish we would have had a chance to use the other eco instead of the guns. Maybe if they would have worked out a way of saying that the guns were a way for normal people to use that eco in a way, because they do kind of function in different ways and everything. But man, I don't know, something about Jak being able to channel that eco in a way that no one else could brought extra life to the story. With that said, though, I mean, the car mechanics, the hoverboard mechanics, the storyline of the second one were all great. And I love how it ties back to the first one. But a lot of what I love about the second one was introduced in the first one. And the first one was really good. I fully enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first one even more playing it after I played the second one. Like it felt even better, because at that point I'm like, oh, I get where the speeder bike came from now, and you know, oh, I get where this stuff comes from now, you know, because of the whole time travel type of bit.
For each power cell I contain.
I still to this day think that we could have a Jak 4 and we can explore some of those remnants of like, hey, how did we get in the past but also be in the future, and exactly what happened to this world to make it the way it is, you know? Bring back eco to the full extent that it was in the first game. This game, coming from Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo and Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, all of those games being my favorite on the 64, coming into this game, it was spot on what I was looking for. I've come back to this game time and time again and enjoy it more and more every time I've played it. I get faster and faster at playing it, and it becomes less and less of a challenge, but the story and the mechanics just, I don't know, it's gonna be really hard to knock this off the top of my list. So that was my top 10 games of all time. What do you guys think? Did any of them make your list? And do you have any that should have made mine? Leave a comment down below and let me know. It's crazy to think that some of these games are going to get kicked off as I go through my backlog. And I'm super excited to get started. So I'm actually going with my daughter's recommendation as the first game to start off the backlog challenge. And that is the FNAF franchise. So I'm going to be playing through every FNAF game that I have and deciding which one I like the best. And that's going to make the #1 spot in my new top 10. At least for a while, until I play more games. I don't know if it'll stay there or not, but we'll see. If you're just as excited as I am for the Great Backlog Challenge, then make sure you subscribe so you can follow along at home. Well, thanks for hanging out with me in the game room. Catch you next time. I got some games to play. Later.
Game over.